improving lives, unlocking doors. Improving lives, unlocking doors. They have a kind of luminary soul, a lifetime achievement, not really their goal. It's guiding our journey through countless days for a better tomorrow in every way. A commitment unwavering through sun and rain, inspiring others, breaking every chain. A legacy woven in wisdom's thread, guiding the future as they tread. They have a kind of luminary soul, a lifetime achievement, not really their goal. It's guiding our journey through countless days for a better tomorrow in every way, in embarking on a journey, a story we weave. Women in STEM, everything we achieve. A minority, yet our worth is vast. Contributions tremendous, forever to last. Our days before us, each a vital part. Pieces of a puzzle, a work of art. Perseverance, innovation is their tale, a picture of triumph beyond the veil. Diversity, strength, stories of grace, passing the torch. We light our space, transformative impact. Women stand strong, creating a world where we all belong. A torch that's passed and a flame that's strong, from those who've paved the way, now are gone. To those who follow the colors that blend, excellence, hard work, a legacy to send. Determination's fire burning within, knowledge shared, a gift to begin. Diversity, strength, stories of grace, passing the torch. We light our space, transformative impact. Women stand strong, creating a world where we all belong. We're dreaming bigger and learning more. Boundaries breaking like waves on the shore. Guided by those who have shown us the way. A legacy of wisdom and courage display. Diversity, strength, special place where knowledge reigns. Educational leadership guiding lanes. We will celebrate the shared quest. Education and cooperation at their best. Older and young, unite with hands held high, supporting growth that touches the sky. Education is a compass that's strong, guiding the way for minds for so long. In the heart of education's domain, together we foster, grow, and gain. From classrooms to corridors, it's clear. Corporate hands extend year after year, empowering minds to reach new heights. All of us learning where wisdom ignites. Talent and skill echo corporate's call, pointing to education for one and all. Education is a compass that's strong, guiding the way for minds for so long. In the heart of education's domain, together we foster, grow, and gain. Boardrooms and classrooms are entwined, a promise to nurture, legacy defined, supporting young minds to spread their wings, because in learning we can do many things, yeah. Education is a compass that's strong. Yes it is, yes it is. Guiding the way for minds for so long. In the heart of education's domain. Heart of education's domain. Together we foster, grow, and gain. In these times, it's clear to see our strength lies in community. Together we stand, hand in hand, building a better, brighter land. Let's celebrate, let people see community's heart, a legacy, honoring those who lead the way for a strong and insightful day. Essential services, resources to a deeper understanding. All we pursue, collaboration's power. United we thrive, positive change in every stride. Let's celebrate, let people see community's heart, a legacy, honoring those who lead the way for a strong and shaping a future bold and bright. From every corner, from every heart, community service is where it starts. Let's celebrate the people see. Going at the people see's heart, a legacy. Honoring those who lead the way, strong and insightful day. In the brilliance we find our way, embracing the future, come what may. Intelligence and eloquence say why for the innovations and what they try. Outstanding tech contributions today for strength and creativity. Find a way. In the face of challenges, they soared. Their impact and legacy adored. Profound impact, all that they share. The boundless reach, a world they repair. With tech inventions, they rise above, pushing the boundaries with a future love. Exceptional products, systems that work, intellectual marvels that are artwork. In the face of challenges, they soared. Their impact and legacy adored. Profound impact, all that they share. The boundless reach, a world they repair. With every breakthrough, they show the way. In virtual reality or light of day, testament to innovation for all to be. Human potential on blank canvases to see. In the face of challenges, they soared. Their impact and legacy adored. Profound impact, all that they share. The boundless reach, a world they repair.
Well, let's see, let's get started. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. I'm Deneen L. Garrett, the founder and CEO of Deneen L. Garrett, LLC. And I am the moderator for today's session, Unleash Your Authentic Voice. And you see my panelists here as well. They're going to introduce themselves a little bit later. So let's just go over the housekeeping and the logistics before we actually jump into the conversation. So you may read our bio information in a conference app. If you have not done so yet, search your device's app store for Career Communications Group and download the app now. You will be able to rate this session, contact the presenter and panel members, so us, after the seminar, as well as read our full bios. So I am joined today by Nikisha A. Hill. She is with General Motors, a virtual launch strategy lead, global manufacturing, electrical strategy and execution, as well as Zelinda Cyril, who is with Operation. She's a program director in space and intelligence. So as I mentioned earlier, the full bios of each of today's panel members can be found in the conference app. This and all the WOC seminars and live presentations will be there as well. They will be recorded and posted within 24 hours for on-demand use. We will take questions from in-person later in the session. For those joining us online, you will be able to ask questions using the SLI.do or DO's tool. Use your cell phone to scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen now to access the session's chat feature. So regarding the CEU and PDH credits, click on the link in your seminar session to apply for those credits. So again, this is Unleash Your Authentic Voice, Building Confidence and Discovering Your True Self, which addresses how you show up in the workplace. As women of color, we are often expected to fit in a box, which is contrary to who we really are. So now we're going to get into a conversation, and that's pretty much what we're going to have today. We're going to have a conversation with the panelists as well as you all later. So the first thing that I want to do is get into some definitions. So, unleashing is to free from or as if from a leash, let loose. Your, of or relating to one or oneself. Authentic, true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. And voice, wish, choice, or opinion openly or formally expressed. So it's the right of expression. Also, it's influential power. And that's the key that I want you all to focus on, your influential power. So I'm just going to leave this up here as we go through our conversation. So, to my panelists, thinking about the definition of authentic as being true to one's own self, how does this align with or differ from your definition of authentic? And I'll start with you, Nikisha.
Well, I gotta go first. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So thinking about the definition of authentic as being true to one's own self, how does this align with or differ from your definition?
Okay, so I'd say it aligns with my definition as me personally being able to come to work being my true authentic self, meaning the skin that I'm comfortable in. And I'm gonna kind of use an example of what we kind of talked about earlier. So yesterday I had the privilege of speaking to some of the youth that was here from DAPSAP. And besides me telling them about what my career is and what I do within General Motors, they were more impressed with the fact that I was comfortable enough to wear red lipstick, which I don't have on today, but I had on red lipstick, and my braids. And it was just like, you go to work like that and you're in corporate? And in the beginning of my career, I was kind of afraid to step out and go to work that way. But that's me. I like being bold. I like wearing my braids, and sometimes I might like wearing weave down to the middle of my back, and sometimes I just want to wear my hair wet in a curly bun. But that's me being authentically myself, and I'm comfortable with going to work that way. So that is how I would answer that question. That is the definition of being authentic, being able to wake up every day, and no matter what it is, whether it's wearing red lipstick and a full face makeup, or just going to work and not wearing any makeup at all and wearing my natural hair. That is what it means. That's the definition to me.
Thank you for that. Zelinda?
I would say that it kind of aligns, again, with the Webster definition that you had out there. It's me being me. I am Zelinda Cyril. I am a person with a Z as a last name, so that already started me off in my childhood as a person who was going to be a little bit different and making sure that I express myself in a certain way. But I would also say I'm a product of my past, my family, my career, my schooling. All these different things come to the table and make me who I am. And that is the way that I express myself. I'm able to see in the room how to express who I am and how to speak up in the way that is authentic to me. I would never say go and try to be something you're not. But I would also say as part of the authentic self is recognizing the room and recognizing how you need to communicate to be effective in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Nikisha mentioned how we were having a conversation before. And so what I was saying to her, and I'm sure some of you can relate, working in corporate, going to events, and then having a conversation, an internal conversation to decide, like, how am I going to wear my hair? You know, am I going to wear the braids? Am I going to wear it straight? That's a lot of conversation that I had to have to decide how I was going to show up. Because trust and believe, folks are always paying attention, and they're making mental notes. And sometimes those notes, they come back, right? I was also sharing a situation where I was with my leadership, and we were in Miami, okay? Now, this is probably May, so it's hot. And he had a opening on a team, and he's my leader. He had an opening on a team, a promotion. And so I said, hey, you know, let's talk about it. And so he told me that he didn't have me in mind for the role because I didn't have executive presence. Okay. So the company was just recognized for Corporation of the Year because of the direct work, my impact. But you ain't thinking about me for a promotion? Because I don't have executive presence? Something that we could have had a conversation, like if you wanted me to show up a certain way, even though that's not necessarily cool, but I would rather you have the same comfort to talk to me about a way how to be more presentable, to show more executive presence, than for you just totally dismissing me and not even thinking about me because of something that is so easily addressed. I can wear a suit. I wear suits often. But that's a conversation we could have had. You should have coached me as opposed to just totally dismissing me. So those are, what we're talking about and experiences that we have as women of color and particularly as Black women. So again, like I said, I'm sure you all may have your own stories and you can share them a little bit later because we're in this together. So and before we go on to the next question, what we didn't do is introduce ourselves. So Zelinda kind of talked a little bit about herself, but let's go ahead and we're gonna start with Zelinda. So Zelinda, who you is?
Who as B? My name is Zelinda Cyril, and I'm a program director at Peraton. I am responsible for a large effort with cybersecurity professionals, and we are a defense contractor. I have been in this industry for over 20 years. I did mention I am from Somerset, New Jersey, of immigrant parents from Haiti. And I went to school at Carnegie Mellon with an undergraduate degree in mathematics and secondary education, and then Virginia Tech with a master's degree in systems engineering.
Tu parles français?
No, unfortunately, no. Nor do I speak Creole.
It's okay. Nikisha?
I'm Nikisha Hale. I go by Keisha. I work for General Motors as the lead virtual strategy. So I am over all of the virtual strategy design, builds, and everything with General Motors. But outside of that, I am the founder of Women Empowerment, where I help to empower women in different areas of whether it's finding shelter, just support. So that is one of my main focus. And I also found an organization called JJ's Memorial, where it was founded in 2020 after my father passed from COVID. And we help to raise money for scholarships for students to go to school. So that's just a little bit about me. I am a mother, a wife, a mother, a wife. My husband is right here supporting me as always. A mother and a grandmother. So that is me, who I be.
Who you be, who you
Who I
is. And about myself, so I actually, I retired from corporate last year. So 20 plus years of corporate. I was in thank you. I was in diversity and inclusion and talent development, and I actually led our Women of Color program before I left. Currently, I am a women's empowerment speaker. I am the creator and host of Women of Color and Intimate Conversation podcast, and I am a dream lifestyle coach. And so my brand is Live a Dream Lifestyle, and that's what I promote, right? And again, I'm about elevating the voices of women of color and empowering us to live a dream lifestyle and to live that dream style now. So I'm going to throw another question out there, right? Because I think that this is probably important. So Keisha was sharing with me earlier as to why she's on this stage. So I want you all to share why you're here. So Keisha.
Okay. I think I'm gonna keep going first today, huh?
No, Zelena went first. No, we're switching it up.
No. So I didn't understand why I was asked to be on this panel at first when I was approached, because, it's being your authentic self. And I'm not example, I was in a meeting and I brought this up, that when I speak up for myself or speak on something that I'm passionate about, I'm considered aggressive or the angry black woman. But when other colleagues would speak up, they were just passionate. And I didn't understand that. Why am I not passionate? I'm just as passionate as they are. And I'm gonna always be me. I'm gonna speak up for myself, and I'm gonna speak up for what I believe in. I'm gonna speak up for what's right. And earlier in my career, I was reluctant to do that because I was fearful of me being let go or disciplined or just being looked at differently. And this was one thing that I didn't share. When I really got that authentic voice or that courage to speak up and say, hey, I'm not angry, I'm passionate, and I'm gonna speak up for myself. I'm not gonna trust or wait for someone else to speak up for me. It was honestly during COVID. My father had passed, and it was a situation that happened, and I almost reacted in the way that they wanted me to, but I had to stop, pause, and say, let me not snap, but I can't do this right now. But I spoke on what was true, what I believed in, and what was right. And that was why I was asked to be a part of this panel, because I didn't react in, I'm just gonna say it, the angry black girl. I didn't go off, I didn't do all of this and point, and in my head, I'm not gonna lie, that is where I was at. I wanted to give all of that because I was dealing with some things. But after my father passed, I came back to work and I gave 1,000% of myself to the company. And I didn't feel like I was receiving that back. So I spoke up for myself. And that was why I was asked to be on this panel, because no matter what situation I've been put in, I've always stood up for myself and said the right things and brought to everyone's attention that, hey, I'm just as passionate about my career and everything as that person is. And you need to look at yourself if you think I'm angry and that person is passionate. You're the one with the issue, not me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before Zelinda shares, and I said, you know what? And what if I am angry?
She did say that.
You know what if I'm angry? Because guess what? I have a lot to be angry about. That situation that she just shared with you all, that's one to be angry about. How are we different? We're saying the same things. One is a black woman, one is not. One is angry, the other is not. Why not? So yeah, I have reasons to be angry. And I'll share with you, there's a Principal Caffelli it was a principal in like the New Jersey school systems, and he's gone on and administrator and teaching and whatnot. And so he talked about the students in the urban. And so he was talking about how, and he teaches on how to relate to these students. So he was saying how these kids often are having to step over dead bodies or navigate through drugs and gangs and all these different things just to get to school. So for you to start talking about 2 + 2, and they have to go through all of that to be there, no, you gotta come differently. And so often women of color, we did that. We had to navigate just to show up to where it is that we are. So if I'm angry, I have reason to be angry. And I'm not, right? What makes you think that I am? So don't make those assumptions just because of the color of my skin. That's just how you want to, say I am. That's what you want to say about me. No, absolutely not. Zelinda, why are you here?
I would say I'm here because at an early age, when I was around, 16 or 15, I was part of a mock trial. And the school system that I grew up in Somerset, New Jersey, my school within Somerset, New Jersey was predominantly black, or had more black kids in the school. So I was on the mock trial team, and I was a lawyer person, and I came and I had this beautiful ivory suit. And I remember I went and got my hair done in this cute little French roll, one little piece coming down, and my heels. And I just thought I just looked so put together. My mother was a fashion designer, so I knew I was wearing some nice clothes. So at the end of the competition, or the end of the area, they gave us a debrief. And the judge said, so it was 2 black lady lawyers and 2 white male boy lawyers, or men lawyers, and they said that we looked like we were coming to a club. And that we were not so much the words aggressive, but it was just unprofessional. And that was my first experience of thinking, wait, I actually thought I was coming here really professional. I probably said exactly the same objections and whatever else. And after that, I sat down with our coach, and it was a white woman, and really had that moment of saying, you have to also recognize the vessel that you're delivering in. You can be true to yourself and true to, making X, Y, or Z happen, but also, this is here. This is going to be the first thing that people see, whatever context that they have. So knowing that, my next suit was a properly black and normal looking suit. Hair was in a little bob and whatnot. We ended up coming in second place in the entire county after just changing the context, but still being true to me, still understanding what I wanted to say, and still kicking butt. So really, part of your authentic self is, I know we want to present however we are, but it's also understanding the context that we have to effectively communicate and get what we need to get across, and recognize that it's not necessarily they're doing something wrong to us. Because I think when I sometimes see people back in the day who used to really like goth and black nails and all this stuff, right? I come with a perception of who that person might be representing by the way that they are appearing and they're projecting. So recognizing that that's there and figuring out, how do I still be true to me and not compromise things that are about me to get what I want to see happen.
Yeah, and you know what, that's a good point, because as she started telling her story, I'm thinking, here we go again. You're talking about the appearances, right? You're not even hearing what I'm saying because you're too busy looking at me, and you're making all of these judgments based off of what you think how I'm supposed to be. Probably, and I'm sure was very, extremely articulate, probably did definitely way better than the other team. However, they were so caught up on the presentation. Right? And so what she said as far as, okay, the person talked to them, considered a vessel and made an adjustment. The key with that and what she said as far as being your true authentic self, if it's in alignment with you, if you're okay with that adjustment. Because like I said, with my particular situation, he could have had a conversation with me and coached me on how to present more as, executive, right? How to look more like. And it's up to me whether or not I chose to do it. And we have that choice, and that's the thing that I want to make sure that you walk away from. You have that choice, because in the situation she just described, she didn't have to change if she didn't want to. But it's all about, she thought about it and said, you know what, that's not that big of a deal for me to go ahead and put on black. Cool, I got that, I can do that. And she could have also said, you know what, absolutely not. I love this outfit that my mom and I put together, and I'm going to show up the same way and keep showing up my same way. So the point is, it's about you and what you choose to do. You have to be authentic to you. Okay, So,
The good news is I really like black and gray. So I was going out on a limb with the lighter colors.
okay, so you were trying to be a little daring, huh? Okay, well, I like lots of colors, bright colors, and I do have on my red lipstick, so that's how I'm going to show up, and that's how I'm going to present. And so a little bit more about me. So I did say, you know, I had 20 plus years. I already talked about myself, didn't I? We already did that.
Talk more.
Why I'm here, or what brought me here. So my first time attending Women of Color STEM, I attended as a guest of General Motors. And then the second and third year, I was a guest of my employer. This time I am here because they reached out to me, Deneen L. Garrett, LLC, and invited me to be a part of this. And so I bring that up to say that the work that I've done, I'm standing on me, on myself. Right? And it means a lot. I'm true to me. I'm authentic to me. Like I said, the person had their comments about me, but that's your issue. It's not mine. I'm not about to change me. I'm going to continue to be me. And people are watching, right? People are always watching. Some people are watching because they want to criticize. Other people are watching because they have an opportunity for you. And so for me to be able to say I'm here as me is huge versus, oh, you know, I'm a guest. And there's nothing wrong with being a guest, but I'm talking about my particular journey of my authenticity. So, and let's talk about how you're showing up in the workplace. How much of your authentic self do you bring? Are you different outside? And in what ways and why? And
I will
yes,
go
thank you,
first.
Zelinda.
So I would say at this stage of my career, I am bringing myself. I'm bringing my Jersey self. I'm bringing my technical self. I'm bringing the person that I am. I think the parts that I'm not bringing to work is my artistic self, because I tell you, I have songs in my head all day that I just want to sing in the office, and no one really wants to hear that all the time. So I also recognize when I need to talk, when I don't need to talk. I have the part that I probably do less authentic is I did a Myers-Briggs. I'm INTJ, 100% J. That means I write lists of lists. If it wasn't on my list, I'm writing something else there. So I like structure in my day. I like meetings planned, et cetera. But as a leader, there's always a lot of things that come up. So as something I've learned over time that I wouldn't say was particularly authentic to me is to I plan in flexibility, and I will plan in those opportunities to be able to have somebody just stop by, and then we're just going to chit-chat about X, Y, or Z, or deal with whatever's coming up. So those parts of me, if I could have the structure and if everyone could just do everything completely as I ask them to do, it would be perfect. But as a person who leads people, you know that can't really happen. But outside of that, usually it's just probably better language in the office. Like I probably wouldn't listen to the hip hop music lyrics that I like and those kinds of things. But either outside of that, I'm just Z.
And you know what? Describe your office environment.
My office environment is probably 80% white males. And I would also say a lot of people who go to the gym a lot in that type of white male. But a lot of my leaders are women that report into me, but my employees come with a lot of extra fun.
All right, Keisha.
Well, I will say that I bring 90% of my authentic self to work, only because General Motors not ready for 100% of me. But that's a big accomplishment for me to be comfortable with bringing 90% of myself. I don't even think my husband is able to deal with 100% of me. So 90% is good. I'm comfortable. But again, I am still mindful of the fact that this is a corporation. I'm coming to work, and there's still certain ways that I should behave at, or interact with others while I'm at work. So 90% of myself, I'm there. And it took a lot for me to get there. And I say that because, yes, I have a degree, but I do still have a little bit of the slang and everything in me. So I try to not bring so much of that into the workplace. So that would be the 10% that I leave at home. And I will say that comes from a lot of coaching from my husband. He has helped, because I used to be like, well, why can't I just be me? That's who I am. That's how I speak. That's how I talk. And he's like, no, babe, you have to be this way. You have to be mindful of this, and you have to be able to reach everyone, not just people who look like you or people who you relate to. So he has helped develop me a lot within my career. That is my first and like my main mentor right there. I'll give a lot of credit to him, because before I just wanted to be 100% me. Why? I felt like I was not being true to the culture if I had to bring part of myself to work. But 90% is good, because I am able to say, hey, I'm having a mental day. Like this, I'm not feeling this today. This is going on. And before I wasn't able to do that. So before his coaching me, it was, I felt like I either had to be 50% of myself or just not at all. So being 90% saying, hey, it's not a good day. I am having a stressful day. My mommy is dealing with some medical issues, or our kids are going through something, or hey, I have to pick my granddaughter up from school. Before, I would never have done any of that at work, because I felt like I had to be that. So when it was, hey, be your true authentic self, I'm like, I'm being 100% me. I'm going in like, I'm not feeling like this, excuse me, sugar honey iced tea today. And he's like, nope, you can't say that. You can't do that. You got to be able to say it this way. So I am more polished. 90% is good. But as a leader, I'm happy that I'm able to be 90% authentically myself, because my team is able to come to me and say, hey, this is going on in my life, and I'm not here. I'm not at work. I'm not in the moment. And me being authentic to them, or being honest with them, has built the confidence within my team to be able to come to me and say, hey, Keisha, I need to talk to you. This is going on in my personal life. I can't be here mentally today. So 90% is good. I would always advise not to be 100% your authentic self, because that 10% can get you looked at. But be yourself. Be able to speak up for yourself and be honest. Like, hey, we need mental health days, breaks, and checks, and all those things. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of what they're talking about also is about using your voice, right? So it's about being authentically you and then using your voice. And so for me, I stick with what you're comfortable with, who you want to be. And so if you want to be your 100% self and you're using slang, be that. It's what you're comfortable with, right? And knowing that you being your authentic self, whatever percentage of it that you are, there's also consequences. So if you're okay with the potential consequences, be yourself. And so when she was speaking, I was thinking about, I don't know if, or I'm sure everybody has watched Insecure. If you haven't, don't tell me. But there was one episode, and it was with Molly. And so there was another black woman who had started working in the firm with Molly. So for those who don't watch, Molly is an attorney. And so she worked in a predominantly white firm. And so new black woman, and she was her straight up self. Okay, she came in, whatever, talking the way she talks at home. And Molly was like, oh, right? Because Molly had bought into, code switching, changing up. I'm in this environment, so I need to be somebody else. This woman did not, right? And it worked for her. She actually had better relationships with the people than, let's say, the appearances that Molly had, right? And so Molly kind of complained, I believe, and so the woman ended up, I'm not sure, I think she ended up leaving. Something happened with her. But the point that I'm making is how you show up is your choice. Show up 80%, 90%, 100, 120, however you want to be, because it's about you, because you are you wherever you go. And you have to be comfortable. You have to be able at the end of the day to be like, okay, I'm good with myself. Am I good that, okay, for that particular event, I straighten my hair? Am I cool with that? Am I cool that, okay, this particular instance, I rock the braids? You got to be okay with whatever decisions you make, and that's what we're talking about. So let's see. Being true to oneself, authentic often equates to keeping it real. How do you keep it real when others want to box you in and without alienating them? Should we even be concerned about them versus us? So who wants to start with that?
I'll start. I'm not concerned. I'm not. And anyone who knows me will tell you that. I am, as I've said in each question, I'm going to be me. I'm going to answer. And how you feel is how you feel. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it, walk around it. I'm not concerned. I am going to, my voice is my voice. Either you like it or you don't.
All right.
That was a simple, that was
There it is.
That was the easiest question you asked me today. I am not concerned.
We just getting started, so we're going to see.
I will say in another panel that my colleague was on, that it was talking with millennials, you don't always have to keep it real. You don't always have to talk. If the goal of this conversation is to communicate and to have an exchange or to get an idea across, then focus on that. And if you want to have a certain outcome, focus on that. But sometimes we will put up a statement that I need to just say this and it needs to happen. Does it? And doesn't need to happen now? So I look at it as looking at my battles, which things I want to talk about, which things I'm passionate about, which things does this other person care? Because I could be talking a lot and this person can't move the needle, can't change anything, and also doesn't care about what I'm trying to convey. So for me, I don't necessarily think about the keeping it real aspect. I'm a person that wants to be neutral all the time at work. And if there's a moment that I'm not neutral, then usually I need to step away because my Zen place is calm for me. So I would also say that sometimes when looking at how that feels and how that you're feeling in that moment, I would recommend also looking into books like Emotional Intelligence and recognizing the impacts that you feel that you're going through, that you feel that this needs to happen right now in this certain way for you to be heard. Because there's a lot of different ways to be heard, and if you want to be heard and be effective, then figuring out how do I communicate in a way that I can get the outcomes that I am intending to get out.
Yeah, and so different perspectives, right, on that. And it all still boils down to you, knowing yourself, knowing how it is that you want to show up, knowing how you want to communicate what you want to get across. And then also there's times when you just want to say it because it's going to make you feel good to say it, right? And that's okay too, because it goes back to you, what you're comfortable with and what you want to accomplish and get out there. So let's see, where should we go? All right, so we kind of talked about this a little bit, but we're going to kind of go here again. Often we change our appearances not to stand out, to fit in, or any number of reasons. Share when you've done this and why. And like I said, changing hair, that's definitely an example. I think when I'm going to an event, ooh, am I going to straighten the hair? Am I going to wear the braids? How do I want to show up? So this is kind of an example of that. But.
So the funny thing about me is I like to stand out. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I do things to make myself smaller or not seen. I recently went natural. This is something in the last several years, probably COVID. It was something I've always wanted to do, but I didn't do for a long, long time. but I would express myself via clothes, hairdos, nails, whatever that was, once again, being true to me. And these are my versions of expression and how I want to present myself there. Outside of me wearing black, which I said I do like wearing more black clothes, I don't necessarily try to conform into these things. And when I hear people doing this, it's very, it's interesting because you have to ask, does it really mean something for me? Is it my authentic self? I'll give an example. I did an orals for a competition. So orals, when you're in defense contracting, sometimes you have to present and then the government grades you on that presentation. So I was part of a team, and it was 3 ladies that were there, and we had a coach, and he was helping us with all of our presentations and everything like that. And then he asked us to do a dry run. And one of the ladies, a white woman, she had this nice pink blazer on and these slacks, and he told her, "You can't wear that. Don't wear a Hillary red suit." So for us to effectively win, her very nicely presented outfit, she was getting coached out of wearing that. We want to win, so if there's another thing in the wardrobe, we wouldn't want to say our Hillary red suit was the reason behind it, but realize that people will be pushing down and trying to, put you into the box. So being true to you and being true to what we need to see the outcomes to be.
So you didn't want to rock that French row?
I mean, I liked it, and I probably wore it again to a different judge.
Yeah.
But I was a person that changed my hair a lot and wigs and kind of on your tip of, we used to have finger curls, all the different things. I used to love it. Hair was my thing.
I will say I did try to alter my appearance once, right? I was speaking, and just to let everyone know, I do not like public speaking. So I had an event that I was asked to speak at, and they told me what the attire was. So for one, I was already nervous because I will do something that's virtual in a heartbeat. It's just me, the computer, and I don't have to see anyone's expressions on their faces while I'm speaking. So I was already nervous for that, and when they told me what the attire was, like, that's okay, I can do it. But I was stressing over the outfit that I was gonna wear, and I ended up going with this outfit that I did not like at all, but it seemed appropriate for what everyone else was wearing. And I didn't feel as if I was effective in my message that I delivered because I wasn't comfortable with what I wore. Because the entire time I was speaking, I was thinking, I do not like these shoes. This heel is not high enough. I do not like this dress. It's really loose. I like form-fitting clothes. So the entire time I'm speaking, these are the thoughts that's in my head, right? The feedback that I got was I did a great job. I didn't like it. I was asked to speak again, had the same, they told me what the attire was. This time I wore what I was comfortable in. Not only was I effective in the message, but I left more confident in myself. So I say that to say, anytime I've been asked to do anything, and I'm gonna give an example of yesterday. We were told what the dress code was for the event that we had to do here. And I went and got me something that I knew I would feel comfortable in because I was never going through what I went through before in that outfit. I was sweating, but I wasn't sweating because it was hot. I was sweating because I was not thinking about what I was saying. I was literally thinking about, I do not like what I have on. I just wasn't comfortable. So I would say it's important for you to show up the way you feel comfortable presenting yourself. And yesterday, I may not have been, I had on some jeans and a blazer and some pumps, but that's what I felt comfortable in. Everyone else had on suits, and everyone looked wonderful. But I felt like I looked wonderful too, because I showed up in the attire that was presentable for me. So I think that answered the question.
You did, and again, what you're going to hear throughout, right, throughout this whole conversation is you. It goes back to you, your comfort level, how you want to show up. And as long as you're secure in that, then go ahead and rock that. The key is knowing yourself. And so make sure that you're taking the time to get to know yourself, get to know what you like about yourself, how you show up, because what she said as far as being comfortable, oh, that definitely plays a part, because you are like, ooh, the skirt is rising, it's doing this, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, this blouse is so big, and all these different things. And so those are things that you're thinking about. So show up as you and how you feel. So this next question, we kind of talked about it, but I'm asking it differently. So have you ever been in an experience where being yourself has held you back? If so, how did you persevere and not let that hold you back? Well, you know, you gave us.
Start us off?
Say that again.
I said, with the moderator, would you like to start us off on that? What example?
Well, you know, so the example really, the example that I gave was about being in Miami and what the person had said to me as far as executive presence. So in essence, that held me back because he didn't think about me for the particular role. And then Zelinda, when she gave the example when she was younger and how she, you know, presented, and I'm not sure everybody on the team, that held them back too because the person coached them to look differently. So those are two examples of that.
Got an example?
And we can move on from this one because we gave two examples, right? And then you all can share as well when we get to the open part of it.
I think the reason that potentially both of us are struggling on this question, not that we didn't get all the questions in advance and we could have been prepared.
Exactly.
So it's on us, not on our moderator, is that at the end of the day, since we so much were looking and striving to be authentic, I don't think we're seeing it as a roadblock. I'm thinking it's part of my journey. So I don't see that I have had a hindrance in the grand scheme of my career journey because I may have had to revector or turn every so often, but because I said I'm showing up as me and this is who me is, I figured out how to navigate it. So I'm not gonna say it was always everyone was happy and like, yay, Zelinda's here. But I would say that I didn't look at it as that it was an end point and I could move still and continue to move in my journey.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that every situation that I've been put in has developed me or encouraged me to be in the position that I'm in now. So I didn't look at it as a hindrance. It was motivation to be where I am and be comfortable with being authentically myself now.
And so the point around that, so two things, we're talking to you all, we're having a conversation with you all, but we also want you to take this to somebody else, right? So what we talked about earlier and what the example she gave being around the young students who were like, oh my God, you're showing up with red lipstick and braids and you work in corporate. That's who we want to know. That's who we want to be comfortable and confident in being themselves. I was sharing with her is that I was in a creative space and having a conversation with someone, and she's like, yo, you know, I really want these young women to know they can be themselves. And I told her, I said, you know what, I don't think we have to worry about these women because these young creatives, they're going to show up as themselves. And if somebody doesn't like it, they're gonna move on to something else. And then I said, and this is the example Keisha's talking about, however, those that are going in the corporate world, that's different. Because so many different people, their mothers, their aunts, whomever have told them you have to fit in a box. Right? And so that's what we're talking about. We want to get to the young women and really know yourself, what you're okay with doing, how you want to show up, but it all starts with being yourself and then really encouraging them to be authentic because how many times are you hearing, whether it's at your workplace, on social media, whatever, people are talking about being authentic, being authentic. Why are we being authentic? Why aren't we already authentic? Right? So I want to really encourage young women to show up as their true selves from day one, so that they're not having to come to a panel X number of years into their career to learn how to be authentic. How do you, learning to be yourself, learning to breathe. So that's kind of what we want to definitely, impart on you all. So for you, how you're, navigating the workspace, and then as well as bringing those young ladies along, and then telling them, now, absolutely share your situations. Because there's a couple women that I think of as far as their true authentic selves. One, well, I'll talk about one, Caroline Wanga. Raise your hand if you know who I'm talking about. Okay. So Caroline Wanga today is the CEO of Essence Ventures. When I met her, she was the Chief Diversity Officer of Target. Now, once you see Caroline, you will remember Caroline, because most likely Caroline has orange hair, and she wears her hair in I don't know if they're like a twist or whatnot, but orange hair. She may have on kente cloth, and she's bright, memorable. She is her authentic self, and that's what she talks about. As a matter of fact, my first time seeing her was here, and I think that was back in maybe 2018. Here's the thing too, with Caroline, she did not start off that way, right? She came in just like everybody else, just regular, black, basic. And then as she progressed, then she started teasing, oh, let me show up with red nail polish. Let me show up with blue. Oh, okay, let me go ahead and hair color and whatnot. So she played with being herself. Now that's what she talks about. Again, that's us. Because when we started in the workplace, for the most part, again, somebody told us to kind of fit in a box, to kind of stay in that box. Like, oh, okay, you want to get to that next level, then look at somebody who's there and dressed like them. Often they had on suits, right? Same kind of look. But nowadays, and again, now we're trying to figure out, well, now how do I become my authentic self? What can I actually do? So my thing is that what I would love is for us to empower our young women, be yourself from day one. But again, it goes back to knowing who you are and being aware that there's consequences, because there's some people who are going to be like, they're not going to choose you. They're not going, they're not going to choose you. They're not going to award you this, that, and the other, because you are your authentic self. You have to be okay with that as well. All right, so let's see. What does it mean to own who you are, and how has that impacted your career? Okay, so we kind of already talked about that, right? So we're all talking about how we own ourselves and different examples of what that looks like and how that has looked up.
Do we want to ask the audience if they have any one?
You want to go into the audience questions now, or you want to get to our?
I do want to add something before we go to the audience pertaining to that question. One of the things so I read this book, and it's called Start With Why. And it's a good book, right? It made me kind of really reevaluate things about myself, right? The why. And one thing I just want to say to everyone is, I know often I used to say I was unique because I was rare, but you're unique because you're you. There's not another you. And that helped me with being authentic in the workplace, because I'm not rare because I'm not unique because I'm rare. It's not many like me. I'm unique because there's only one me. I can only represent myself. I can't be like anyone else. So the question that you just asked, yeah, I know we kind of talked about it, but I just want to, and if you haven't read that book, Start With Why, it's a great book. There's a few other books out there, but that one just kind of stood out to me. Is I'm unique because there's just me, and that helped me be my authentic self as well, because I'm not trying to be like anyone else. I'm not trying to be rare. I'm just trying to be Nikisha A. Hill. That's it.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then also our differences, like this is women of color, right? And so that's our uniqueness, and that's our superpower. And so embrace that. Right? Embrace the different things about yourself. Whatever makes you different than the majority, embrace that, because that's your uniqueness. So yes, we can go ahead and pause for a moment, and we can just open it up if anyone has any questions, and then we can go back to our prepared questions. Yes?
I got something tonight, right? Where's, oh, it's over here.
I'm like, what is that? Hello.
I'm Jasmine Wilson. I was in the Gen Z talk, and one of the things I kind of wanted to highlight is I think it is very important for like different generations to make it okay for us to be our authentic selves in the workplace. But like for me, I think I show up like, I wear what I want, you know, I talk how I want, I kind of just do what I want. I complete the tasks, I do what I have to do, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with me being myself, but I've also had a lot of people tell me like, that's not gonna get you anywhere, like you gotta pivot, you gotta change, you gotta like suppress it, you have to dim it a little bit so that you can get somewhere and then be yourself. And I so disagree with that. And maybe it's just because I'm younger and I'm in an office with like older people, but I just wanted to know any advice you have for people who are like in my position, who are like younger in an office maybe where they're being told they should conform rather than to be authentic, speak your piece respectfully, you know, but say what you need to say, be yourself, and they don't have anyone to really advocate for them. Is there anything you would tell us, help motivate us?
You want to go first? I'll go first. So I will say, well, I tell everyone this, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? I wouldn't tell you not to be yourself, but I would say network with others. Get you a strong mentor so that they can coach and help develop you as far as how to act, but don't change, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
Like, build that confidence up. Don't dim your light. Don't not speak up. Don't not say what you feel you need to say just because you're young. Because when I first got into corporate, I was the youngest in my department, and I felt the same way. It was like, oh, you know, she's young, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and I used to be upset. And it wasn't the way that I said things, it was, wait, let me say it right. It was how I said things, because before I would come off as angry, it's like, no, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm saying. And then I had mentors, like I said, my husband and others who helped me articulate what I was trying to say in a different way.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't not speak your piece, but get mentors. Networking is very important.
Absolutely.
It's so important. Network, get a mentor so that they can help you deliver the message the correct way without you feeling like you have to dim your light or not be yourself. That's just my opinion. And like I said, I say that because I was the youngest in a lot of positions that I've been in, and I was looked at like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a kid, this and that. Yeah. And before, my reaction to it would not always be the best. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful for having those mentors, because they would say, no, you're right, but you have to say it this way. You have to do it this way. You need to show them this. You need to show them versus arguing and debating with them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would say it's also about kind of reading the room and taking some time to learn about social acumen, political savvy, understand who's the decision makers, who do I actually need to talk about for X, Y, or Z, and then how do I maybe get them to be advocates, champions? Because if the end goal is you want to be heard and you want that thing to happen, it's like playing a game of chess. Right. I got to figure out how I'm going to get this checkmate done. And it's going to be different from every organization. It doesn't matter if you're new as in because you're a millennial or Gen Z. Every organization has their kind of politics, and not in a negative fashion. And so figuring out how do you play in that and how do you communicate while still being true to you. So if the way that you're going to get this across is going to make you have to change something that you core don't want to change, then you may need to relook at this whole situation that you're in. But if I'm able to say it just like this versus like that, and you're saying, oh my gosh, Zelinda, you're so smart. I didn't even know, wow. Because I phrased it in a way that was still true to me and still true for what I'm getting out. But at the end of the day, it's still got to figure out if I'm going to turn too much and like contort into a way that I'm not going to feel good about myself and I'm going to feel icky and all those other things, then it may not be worth it. But finding people who know how to navigate that path, or spending time to look at your organization and really watch and see how people are communicating and how people are getting things done, and then following that path in your truest way.
Yeah, and so my input would be yes, and it's and. So it's kind of like she said, the book, it's your why. So what is it that you want to accomplish? Will doing those things get you there? Are you okay with doing those things? That's what you have to take into consideration. Absolutely, we all should have mentors. You should have multiple mentors. You should have people who look differently, different than you, different, you know, ethnicities, races, even job functions, et cetera. Have those people and just hear what they have to say, their opinions. And then you decide if you want to take any of it.
Yeah.
Like whatever they're saying to you, you don't have to do any of what they say. It boils down to you, your why, what you're willing to do.
Yeah.
So for me, I mentioned I retired, and I am a young retiree. I made the decision to retire in January of 2021. I made the decision is because I was tired of them playing checkers, so I decided to play chess. So for 18 months, I knew I was leaving. I was just waiting for that date. So I was doing my thing, leading our Women of Color program, leveraging everything that I did for me. If it didn't align with my goals for when I rolled up out of there, I didn't do it. It was a no. So everything that I was doing was leveraging for what I had planned for post-retirement.
Okay.
And so that's what you have to think about too. Because again, like she said, if those things, if you're like, okay, I'm not doing that, I don't want to do that, it's not even worth it, then okay, cool. Then you got to think about now, like I said, those consequences.
Okay,
Like
so
I
I have
said,
a
be yourself,
two-parter.
do your thing. What'd you say?
So I have a two-part. Now I have a follow-up. Then when do you know that it's time to pivot? Because I think like I've been in places where I'm like, I'm just going to conform. I'm just going to do whatever I need to do to make sure that I can keep building. Because I'm early in my career.
Yeah.
I need to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to be how they want me to be. I'm going to speak how they want me to speak. I'm going to wear what they want me to wear. Now my hair is a no. I'm sorry. I'm not going to change my hair. But all the other things, I'll do whatever I have to do. And then that's tiring.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah.
is that the thing? It's like, okay, I'm tired.
It could be. If it's too tiring for you, for me, I was tired of them playing checkers. You know what I'm saying? Like what I was doing,
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do that like 6 years before it happened.
Okay.
I was exposed to diversity and inclusion, and I'm like, oh, I want a career in this. And so I started building the relationships. I started doing the things, you know, leading ERGs, being on a volunteer, doing all the things, and building relationships with the people in the group. So then 6 years later, they had the opportunities, and it happened to be at the right time because they created these brand new roles. And these brand new roles was totally in alignment with me because I got to create.
Okay.
So I led corporate strategy for several diverse segments.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been able to do that 4, 5, 6 years earlier, right? So the timing was right. Point that I'm making is they were paying me to passionately pursue my purpose until they wasn't, right? Because now they moved me somewhere else.
Okay.
So when they called to say, hey, I'm going to move, you're going to, you know, when you come back from vacation, you're going to be doing this other thing, I wasn't excited. And I'll tell you why. It's because the Women of Color program was started by white women.
Oh.
Now, told you I was in D&I. I'm black. I had diverse segments. My peer, she's black. She has diverse segments. There's several other black women on this team. Nan, one of us, was at that table when they were creating that program. Wow. So I have a problem with that. I even said, one is for high potential, high performing women. I want to be a part of this program. It was a no. All right, well, I want to have a seat at the table to help with this program because it impacts my segment. It was a no. So now you, in December of 2020, tell me when I come back from vacation, I'm leading the Women of Color program. I wasn't excited. Why would I be? Why did you think this was going to be something that I would be excited about? Fast forward to January, like I said, I'm like, oh, I'm out of here. How soon can I leave? I'm leaving. And I did what I do and made things happen in that space. My focus for that program was to provide women of color with tools to navigate spaces as women of color. So that's what I was focused on. I wanted women of color to be able to navigate, whether it was in corporate, outside of corporate. I wasn't focused on them getting promotions because you're already top talent, you're already high performers, so you're pretty much in line for that. But I want you to be able to navigate because things for us are different. things for us are the same and. So I wanted to provide those tools. So anyway, so then, you know, like I said, that's why I decided. I'm like, okay, I'm out. And it wasn't just me, because they were doing things with other people, moving people. You know, whenever, you know, corporations, they have, surplus, you know, people, once or twice a year. All of that was happening, and good people are leaving. And like I said, for me at that particular time, I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Because again, you just gonna move me. And where they put me was somewhere where people typically would actually apply to be there. You just moved me. Like I said, playing checkers, you just moved me over here like I'm a piece. That was my it. That was it for me. So you have to decide what's it for you, right? And if you're, right now you said you're tired, maybe it's when you're too tired. You know what I'm saying? Or really right now, what you probably should do is do whatever you're comfortable with doing and look for a different role within, look for a different role outside of, look how you can do your own thing.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
And I think also going to kind of back to the why, thinking if you're conforming so much that you don't feel that you're still your authentic self, that's a lot. But there's some things that people are asking us to do that's not the end of, you know, the world. And it's not what I wanted to do. Like, I don't necessarily want to just eat, you know, greens and, you know, baked chicken and, you know, the things that we're supposed to do to be healthy. But sometimes, you know, I can do that. So sometimes we don't always have to be everything. We can be our 90%, and there's that 10% that sometimes gets on our nerves. So really understanding, are these the deal breakers? Because they may or may not be. They may be just things. And in every organization, there's going to be things that you're going to have to deal with.
And so we do have a couple ladies that I know have questions, and then we're also within our last 15 minutes. And so I want to make sure that we really get to the voice part. So I do want to take those 2 questions, and then we'll kind of go back to, because again, I want you to walk away with the intention of this whole session.
So my question was, when I first started my career, I showed up authentically myself in an all-male, white predominant industry. And of course, it held me back until I got a black manager that was like, hey, you know, my wife black, she's natural, I got daughters, I understand you, so I'm gonna bring you over here and let you be you, because I know that's how you thrive. So my questions to you guys are, at what point in your careers did you show up authentically day one, or did it take time? And then what made you become true, you know, identify with your true authentic self? Like, did you show up day one? Because I know y'all telling us, like, show up day one, show up day one. So did you show up day one, and what made you not show up day one, and what made you go through that process to become where you are now?
And we'll just have one person kind of answer that, and then we'll jump.
Well, I'll say that it wasn't day one for me. I didn't show up my authentic self. I would say maybe 50%. But I had to get to the point where I was comfortable being uncomfortable, where I was comfortable with saying, hey, you know, and that built up, that it was anger building up, poor leadership, because I had some leaders but like she said, sometimes all of these things have helped us to get to where we are now. So I had some horrible leaders, which I'm not saying I'm the best leader, but I wish I had some of my teammates in here to say, like, hey, you relate, you understand. And I tell them, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So no, I didn't show up day one being my authentic self. And to this day, I'm still not 100%. Depending on the crowd I'm around, maybe I'm 100%. I show up 90%. My authentic self, because again, I don't think the company is ready for all of me. But I'm comfortable now with speaking up. That's because I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had to be comfortable with saying, hey, I don't agree with that if I'm in a room full of white males who have been with the company 60 years and they know everything about automotive, but we're moving to something new and I may have a different perspective. But before, I would just sit back and I might email somebody off to the side afterwards. It wasn't until I got comfortable being in those uncomfortable situations. And again, just networking. I don't just interact with people within my team or within where I'm at. I try to network with people all over, not just with GM, but other companies as well, because you always want somebody in the room when you're not in the room that's able to speak on your behalf. So, you know, I don't know about the other ladies, but I know for myself, I wasn't 100% myself. I wasn't authentically me when I first started off. But I was put in so many situations where I was just timid and uncomfortable with speaking up for myself that once I got comfortable being uncomfortable, it's like, okay, you know, you don't know unless you ask. I remember growing up in school, or my grandmother used to always tell me, the only dumb question is a question that's not asked. So now if I don't understand, I don't act like I understand. I'll say, hey, you know, what did I say earlier? Can you repeat the question? I'm okay with that. But before, I would have never been comfortable in those situations.
And Zelinda, do you have anything to add?
No, we could go.
Okay. So for me, I would say I showed up as myself from day one. And you have to keep in mind that you evolve as a person, right? So who I was back when I started with the company in 2000, you know, wasn't who I was in, you know, 2005, so on and so forth. You grow as an individual. So showing up as my authentic self, absolutely. And so now to Keisha's point, she talked about percentage-wise, like how much of your authentic self. So that does play because, again, like I said, when I was going to certain things, like how do I want to wear my hair? You know, like what clothes am I going to wear to this particular thing that I'm going to? So those are things that came into play. But I showed up as me. And I remember when I started at my company, I started in non-management. And so I just came in being who I am, how I am. And so they're like, hey, you know what? And at our company, in order for you to apply for management jobs, you had to go through a leadership program, and they would give you a pin to apply. So they said, you know what? You're demonstrating all of these things that you will learn in this program, so boom, here's your pin. Because I was me, doing what I do, and they were paying attention. Now, sometimes it's gonna work in your favor, often, sometimes it's not. But you keep it moving. When you're true to yourself, you keep it moving, and somebody is watching. They always are watching. I said, that's why I'm here. They reached out to me and asked me to be a part of this, right? So I stick with the whole thing of be you at all times and know that being you could get you here or not. Now, as far as over my career, had I maybe, you know, been a little bit more conforming, probably would have got further, faster, but I wasn't willing to do that. Like I gave the example about how I dressed and the person, what they said. I didn't change. I kept showing up. We in Miami, I'm dressing like I'm in Miami. I'm not putting on a suit. You know what I'm saying? Unless I want to wear a suit. So I'm always gonna dress how I feel. And like it or not, if it keeps me from that particular thing, oh well. And realistically, I didn't even want it. It was just an opportunity. I didn't want it. So we're gonna go and talk, oh, no, you had a question, right? Yes.
I promise. Hi. I wrote it down so I make sure I don't mess it up. But what advice would you give for surviving in an environment where your authentic self is celebrated when it's beneficial and then discouraged when it challenges the norm?
Say that again?
That's a great question.
So what advice would you give for surviving in an environment where your authentic self is celebrated when it's beneficial and discouraged, like when it challenges the norm?
Okay.
Sorry, I thought it would be quick.
I think
Thank you.
it's taking on an emotional journey. That's kind of what's happening here. And some moments they're happy that you're doing this, and then other moments they want to put you in a corner. I would say, for me, I would continue to just be myself, the person that I feel that I am, and work on my response to their response. So how does that highs and lows, how are they, you know, lifting me up and then pushing me down? How is that impacting me, and is this an environment that I still want to stay in? So I can't change how you're going to react to me, but I can change how I react to you. You know, and in the definition of insanity, if this is ups and downs and it's taking you up and down, we have to break that cycle. And to break the cycle is either you're not going through that emotional change anymore, or you're removing yourself from that situation. Because apparently there are times where they are appreciating and really value what you're bringing to the table. So is that worth the times where they're suppressing it?
Yeah, and before I go to the next question, I'll jump in on this. Go where you're celebrated. So have more of those moments. How do you have more of those moments? Where do you need to be to experience that more, right? Find your people. And if your people are there, stick with that. And again, find more opportunities to have more of that. So the next question, so we want to get into the voice, and we kind of talked about it in one of the slides in the definitions. So leaning into voice as influential power, how are you influencing your work environment?
Okay. Well, just kind of like what I mentioned earlier, I feel like I'm impacting my work environment by creating a safe space for my team to be able to come to me and just express how they feel. And sometimes, because a lot of people that work for me, they're in the beginning of their career. So they're not as comfortable with speaking up for themselves. So I try to create that safe space and be that voice for them. I know I spoke on having a mentor, but it's great to have a sponsor too, right? You need someone that's gonna be in the room when you're not in the room to speak on your behalf. So I feel like that's how I'm impacting where I am, just with all of the other things that I do within my space to help the community as well. So that's how I feel like I'm being impactful in my workspace. And I know time is kind of short, so I'm just cut it off right there. That's
and I'm going to ask
creating a safe space.
I'm going to ask a different question of Zalinda. And then if you all have questions, because they are telling us we're about to wrap up, but if you do have any questions, please stand up and we'll answer those questions. And if you have to leave, then go ahead and leave. And also, feel free to reach out to us. So how can we support other women of color to show up in our authenticity and to use our voices?
I think it's to come to conferences like this, is to network with each other, to communicate with each other, to make sure that we're in a position where you have those mentors and allies out there. Because part of it is having that trust for somebody to be saying to you, now, did you really need to say it like that? Because once again, if we want to communicate and we want to make a message and we want to have an impact, how we say things, how we communicate that is going to be important. So I think working with other women, working with other men, and practicing what you want to say and how you want to say it, and having those times to have that kind of exercise with others. Work with, if you have opportunities, consultants and coaches. Those are also ways that we can help each other. But I think it's really, you're going to learn through doing. I can't tell you how to sound authentic and be effective in your workplace, because I don't have that experience for you. You're going to be the best person that knows how to navigate that path. But we can talk through what-if scenarios and other things like that. And I think these conferences are a great opportunity to network and meet other people that have probably gone through what you're going through.
And so what we're saying and what we've been saying throughout this whole session, and again, it's you. It goes back to you knowing yourself. It's about you knowing your why. It's knowing what you want to accomplish and what you're willing to do to accomplish that. So if you're willing to compromise to get something, then go ahead and compromise. If you're not willing to compromise, then don't, right? Again, just know that the consequences could be that you may not get that opportunity that you were looking for. And on a flip, that may not even be your opportunity. Go out and create your own opportunities. So they did open the door, so that's basically signaling time to go. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to come up to the mic and ask those questions. And again, if you got to roll out, go ahead and roll out.
Well, thank you for moderating. And thank you for being on the panel with me. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.